Thank you for your patience and just allowing for the time for most of you to be able to enter in before we start. I have certainly enjoyed these webinars, and I've also enjoyed the variety in them. We certainly spent a couple talking about education, but then just last week we talked about marketing, and today is also unique, and that is essentially just a Q&A, a time for you to ask questions to some of Abeka's leadership, and then hear directly from them their answers. And so today joining me, I have Randy Teegarden and Amy Yohe. Amy Yohe joined us on our first webinar, but for those of you who may not be as familiar with her, Amy Yohe is Abeka's managing editor. And she brings to that role her years of experience as a classroom teacher, as an elementary principal, as a high school principal, and certainly all her experience as a mother of 6. And so I and the rest of the Abeka team are very thankful for her leadership and her guidance. And her graciousness is exceeded only by her humility. So I'm going to move on before she kicks me under the table.
Wow, that's
Randy
fantastic.
Teegarden is the vice president of Abeka and all that entails. And Randy, your background is business.
That's right.
I know you spent many years consulting and coaching business leaders and helping them improve their business's performance, vision, and strategy. And he's now joined us here at Abeka and striving to also expand and improve Abeka's vision and its performance as we continue to help all of you educators there. Now, because this is a Q&A, you can take advantage right now to go to the bottom of your screen and start hitting that Q&A button and typing in your questions. We do have a few questions that we've received ahead of time, so we'll be able to start with some of those and just give you more of an opportunity to put your question in. Before we get into the questions though, some of you may not be as familiar with these webinars, so let me give a little bit of background about them. The purpose of them these last few weeks has simply been to provide Christian educators with resources, with encouragement, with ideas during this time. Some of you may not be aware, but we've put together 2 Facebook groups, one for Christian school teachers, one for Christian school administrators and principals. And the goal of that is just to give you another area to gather and share resources and ideas. These are by invitation only. So any of you who have signed up for webinars will receive an email invitation. If you happen to be watching this in the future as a recording and you'd like to join those groups, simply email us at schools@abeka.com and we'll be happy to send you an email with an invitation to join those groups. Take advantage. That is really a great area to speak with like-minded educators and to share thoughts and to also be an encouragement to others. Another area, if you're not yet familiar with, is abeka.com/front office. And that is an area of great resource for you. We've not only put up some previous recordings of previous webinars, but you can also find a lot of the resources we've made available on that page. There's the digital teaching aids that our publishing team has helped put together for teachers as they finish up the school year teaching from a distance. And there's also a phenomenal resource, a free marketing toolkit that we've made available for all of our Christian schools. And that it would cost you thousands of dollars to ask a marketing company to create one for you, but you'll be able to take that free marketing toolkit and adapt it for your school. And so whether you are just starting to market your Christian school or you've been doing so for years, that will still be a phenomenal resource. And so that's just a little bit of background about these webinars. Is just one way of trying to help our Christian schools further their mission. But Randy, as the Vice President of Abeka, I'd like you to speak directly on what is Abeka's vision, certainly in helping Christian schools at this time, but also continuing in the future, moving forward.
Excellent. Well, it's great to be here. It's great to be here beside Amy, who's doing an unbelievable, fantastic job in her team, the whole Abeka organization. You see a book maybe in your classroom or a video, we get to see behind the scenes of everything that goes into that, from writing, designing, drawing, printing, distributing, selling, contact center, all of it really designed to, as Dr. Shoemaker said in his commercial, come alongside and support the Christian schools. We had to shift gears a little bit with COVID-19. And so you have seen some of what we have done already. One thing that was really interesting, and as far as our philosophical approach, was how we decided to go alongside the Christian schools. In talking with Dr. Shoemaker, in fact, I was just talking to him yesterday, and we were just going over some strategy discussions and just things that we were talking about. And one thing he said that I thought was just so good, and it is our approach. And he said, Randy, if we serve and support our clients today, the future will take care of itself tomorrow. And I thought that's our philosophy. We are and have been looking for ways to serve and support the Christian schools. The free streaming was part of that, something that we had never done before. Wasn't really designed. A lot of work behind the scenes to make that available to serve the Christian schools. Excited to be able to do it. Excited for those of you that took advantage of that. We ended up with somewhere around 1,600 schools, over 100,000 students, 15 million plus hours that were reserved for streaming. So exciting that the Christian schools were able to take advantage of that product. You mentioned the webinars, right? So the great marketing last week, I hope people are taking advantage of the marketing that we put out there. We have some more marketing webinars that we're planning to begin to, walk them through what the fall may look like. These topics we're talking about where the student is, where the parent is, all these are very vital to talk about and to bring experts on. I think all that has helped. And then we're looking to the future as well. We don't know. We'd like to think that the COVID-19, this crisis that it brought on, has some end that's beginning to form. I know there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Some of the questions deal with some of that uncertainty of it. We certainly have our field reps talking to us, schools talking to us. So we're going to continue to look for ways to partner as we begin to go forward as part of our strategy. And then there's underneath all that is our ongoing strategy to really look for ways to take leadership positions in Christian education. It's the heart and soul of what we do. We obviously support homeschool as well. But the whole idea that there's a Christian solution that we can provide is exciting to us. It still gets us up every day and thrills us, right? It's a passionate drive, and there's a curiosity with it. So there's several major pieces that we're working on that's still being our guiding light as we go forward as well.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing that, Randy. And then Amy, I know in your role as managing editor, you can also just talk a little bit about what Abeka's vision has been and continues to be. And I know you've also got some maybe exciting sneak peeks for us.
Let's see if we can slip those in sometimes in the hour. But we are really excited about everything that continues to go on in Abeka as far as the publishing department is concerned, in conjunction with everything that we've done to partner with Christian schools during the COVID-19 time. There's also been a number of initiatives that we had started before that we have continued to plow through during this time with the Lord's help. And one of those is the piece, Randy, that you've helped us tremendously with, which is overhauling our product development process. And I'm not so much talking about the content, and we have a unique and robust research and development process that we'll talk about in a little bit. We're more so talking about just technically in the office, how we pass things around from editors to our production team through proofing back to the editors. And we're looking to completely overhaul that process following industry standards and best practices. And you wouldn't care a bit about that, except that it increases our speed to execution.
That's right.
So the reason we're doing that is because we want to deliver these amazing materials to you at a better pace. Earlier than we ever have before, faster than we ever have before. So we've been working through the process of implementing some new resources, adding some things to our tech stack, making sure that our process supports what we're producing in the end as far as these great end products are concerned. We've continued during this time to have amazing conversations with those that we serve in the Christian school market. I'm thinking back to just shortly before the COVID-19 and remote learning started. PCC hosted the on-campus educators recruitment, and we had a wonderful opportunity to conduct a couple of focus groups with Christian school administrators. Some may be watching today. And we asked them a question. We said, what problem are you experiencing right now in your Christian school that Abeka could come alongside and help you solve? And we had a little bit of a preconceived notion of what some of the answers might be because of previous feedback that we've received, but we didn't want to set the question up at all. We kept it very open. And so much of that feedback both confirmed some ideas we already had, but then also added to our list of ideas. So solutions going forward with helping with better assessment security, making a more robust assessment platform as far as digital assessments are concerned. Of course, the COVID-19 only enhanced our desire for that as we went to remote learning, and a number of other resources, from enhanced teacher resources as far as our digital resources are concerned, so many different ideas and things that we're going to be able to help Christian schools with going forward. And I say that only because that's not past conversation. And that's past conversation that fuels today's conversation and continuing conversation. We're a very customer-centric educational provider. And so we need to hear from you what your Christian schools would benefit from. And again, just problem solution thinking. How can we come alongside and help you solve any problems that you're facing? So we say that because we want you to keep in touch. So utilize that email address, schools@abeka.com, and let us know what we can do to help support your mission in your Christian school. And we are excited about new products that we're developing, and you're already familiar with product lines that are coming out for use this fall, and perhaps you've placed preview orders already for many of those products that are already in stock. That goes from the new 4th grade language arts materials, the new 4th grade Bible materials, and a number of new courses in high school. And perhaps in the course of our conversation today, I can give you a sneak peek at what comes out past what will be used in fall of 2020. We're excited about that as well. But Cindy, it really boils down to what I consider the 4 facets of the value that Abeka delivers to our customers. And that spans from biblical worldview. That's why we do what we do. That's the heart of the mission, to evangelize students and then to train them to evangelize the world, to help fulfill the Great Commission. And so biblical worldview is at the heart of every single resource that we provide. I mentioned already our robust research and development process and how that is rigorous so that we provide data-driven products that will not only meet expectations, but really exceed expectations in the educational market. You don't have to sacrifice quality academics to have a biblical worldview at your center. They partner together beautifully. Of course, all of that is packaged in a proven philosophy. Teacher-directed philosophy, spiral learning approach, all of those things that are part of the proven philosophy of Abeka and why it has served schools well for so many decades and will continue to do so. And then, of course, critical thinking, which quite honestly, I feel like is all we have done as Christian school administrators and educational resource providers over the last several weeks, is just that problem solution thinking. We were presented with a whole stream of new opportunities. That's the code word for problems. New opportunities, and we had to do some problem solution thinking ourselves. What do we know? What tools do we have at our disposal? What can we concoct as a solution to that problem? And we've had some modifications along the way that have allowed us to serve you more effectively during this time. So those are those 4 facets that we believe will deliver value to you. And again, we welcome your feedback as we continue through that process.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I hope for some of you that's very familiar in the last couple of years, as we've really sought to just communicate who we are and what those 4 facets are, that you've heard those. But for some of you that may be the first time, or it may still be new. And so let that help you know who Abeka is and what it intends to do. And as you take time to put in some of those questions today, this will be a better opportunity for us to continue to get to know you and for you to get to know us. So let me start in with some of our questions. Some of these are fairly similar. Some of these are a little bit diverse. And some of these, both of you will be able to answer. Some of these, maybe just Randy or maybe Amy. I talked earlier about our digital resources. Publishing spent a lot of time and put together a number of things that would not originally be digital a couple weeks ago. They're available on abeka.com/front office, and made those for teachers to be able to use as they were teaching students from a distance. These are a couple questions that go along with that. Someone asks, could you make your flashcards and posters digital? And what about worksheets? Would those also be available in digital format?
Well, I think our goal, right, is we look at going forward digitally. So maybe this is a good time to answer that in a roundabout way, because I think we agree that that's a need and a concern. It's, how do we do that in the right manner? So I do think we could tell the Christian schools to look forward to many things in this new, what we call the digital learning environment. At Abeka, there are 3 main planks, if you will, that we're pursuing. And not to dwell on any one of them, but just to understand the in-depth approach we're taking, which will help us produce or be able to look at providing solutions like the digital piece that you're talking about. The first thing that Abeka has done is a major look inside the technology. We started in 1972 and put everything together, and God has given us amazing talent and people within to make things work. But we're at a point now where scaling becomes an issue. And so we're excited internally, kind of the first part of that plank is to re-engineer the technology inside to give us the ability to consider things like that. And so we're investing heavily into either upgrading or completely replacing large technology stacks that operate Abeka. And so in the coming months and over the next couple years, you're going to see incredible innovation being delivered from Abeka as we seek to serve our clients better, partner better, et cetera. So there's a whole inside thing that's happening, maybe the part of the engine part that you might call. Then there are some other things we're doing because we realize that the heart and soul is our curriculum, right? I mean, that is the heart and soul, and there's a passion about that. But we also understand that Christian schools need more to provide the total solutions. And that's where that comes into play, right? So there's digital pieces. You mentioned the assessment platform, curriculum mapping, I mean, all these things, we get it, we're on it. We have to build some things internally first. Then we're going to look at some of these things externally, that how can we provide this in a way that still meets certain criteria that we need. You may mention one of the exciting projects we're working on, which is coming soon. So I'll just set you up for that one that I'm excited about because I just know that came out. In fact, that came out of those meetings. And then the third one is in no particular order, but the most important thing we're doing, and it is the heart of Abeka, is these revisions. And Amy, as you go through that, I think they're going to be excited about what you're doing with those 4 facets that you mentioned, really instilling a biblical worldview through everything. The R&D is amazing, and it's so in-depth, and it takes into account so many different pieces of it. Our philosophical approach that we believe helps us differentiate, and then this critical thinking. Those 4 facets drive these revisions. We need to deliver them in more concise methods, faster to the market. We get that, but those are the 3 main pieces. So that's a long answer, using that question as a segue to let Christian schools know, what we're doing. But I do think that you'll start to see some of those options in the very near future.
Yeah, to answer that question specific to product, I'm thinking about those visuals that we did create to go with the front office webinars. Those were, I can't remember, Cindy, somewhere between 300 or 400, I think, different pieces, and they were a drop in the bucket of all of the visual resources that Abeka has. And so we were working strategically even before COVID-19 to, instead of just continuing to offer digital resources as we revise, how could we also go backwards to 2nd grade, to 1st grade, before we even wrap back around to revising those printed products? How could we go ahead and offer some digital products? And just recently, we launched our very first 2nd grade digital teaching aid. I believe it's the spelling charts that have been digitized now, so the teacher can project those. So is there a plan going forward to digitize most of those types of visuals, our charts and such? Yes, it's mapping out the timeline, being really strategic. Where can we deliver the most value to you the fastest? But it'll help us to continue hearing feedback. So if your teachers utilize those 2nd grade spelling charts and they want all of their 2nd grade charts digitized, we need to hear that feedback so that we do utilize our resources in the best possible way. So I do think we'll be seeing more and more of those resources going forward. And since Randy gave us a bit of a segue, we've been asked quite often for PowerPoints. When Abeka launched its digital resources several years ago, we started with those more robust digital teaching aids, even a lot of animations, which are only getting stronger and stronger. Now there's narration behind many of them. Now we've got some web-based DTAs. I think about the English grammar DTAs and how you can actually interact with those interactive DTAs. Our new 7th and 8th grade math DTAs have some phenomenal interactive pieces to them. But teachers are still saying, I build PowerPoints and I put those digital teaching aids into my PowerPoints. Can you help me and build those PowerPoints for me? So we have taken the opportunity just recently to allocate a number of our editor resources to starting to develop some of those PowerPoints. Our designers have created some beautiful templates that I know you've enjoyed seeing.
They're exciting.
And now our teachers turned editors are putting in the academic content, and we're exploring how we'll deliver those, whether it's a purchase as we do now with our digital products, perhaps a subscription model in the future. But again, exploring all of that, and we look forward to letting you know when those start to become available. So keep the feedback coming, so again, we can start in the best places that would serve you most effectively.
So coming soon, it sounds like for a lot of those. Let me ask a couple academic questions, and then I know we have had a lot of questions about ProTeach, about the streaming. Randy, that you mentioned has been one of the resources we've given schools to use. the first couple of these questions are similar. I have a teacher asking, what other suggestions do you have for students taking finals now that students are at home? How can we make sure those final exams are still valid? How can we use parents as proxies? A similar question, how can we help our students concentrate during this time of quarantine? And Amy, you may be able to touch on that when I ask you your next question. But let me also say that in 2 previous webinars that are recorded and on our website, we were able to talk about those topics at length. And there's no one answer fits all, and there's not even necessarily an easy answer. But if you'd like to hear a lot more about that, go to some of our previous webinars. Our very first webinar talking about just how to end the school year strong, Amy and another fellow administrator, Micah Conlon, spoke about ideas for finals. And then in our webinar on helping with parent and student relationships, we also talked about finals. So those may be some other resources. And then Amy, a question for you, just in general, how is PCA doing school right now? It has a lot of students, it has a lot of classrooms, sometimes more than some other schools. So what do you know of PCA?
And they have our kids.
They do have our kids, yes. 3 of mine are post-college age, but I do have a K-4 student, a 1st grade student, and a 10th grade student at the academy. And what PCA has been experiencing is very similar to what everyone has been experiencing. We went remote as well, and our students are using the ProTeach videos at home, just as many of your students are. And that's coupled with, if we think back to those other webinars, high teacher involvement in contacting parents, contacting students on a regular basis. Those ProTeach videos were never meant to replace the teacher. They were meant to provide instruction and to free the classroom teacher up to manage everything else that goes along with remote learning. We felt strongly that teachers were going to not have enough hours in the day to be teaching live or recording their own teaching and all the other facets of remote learning. And so our children have been learning from home. Their teachers have been checking in with them. To go back to the testing question, I think every school has handled that a little bit differently. And in addition to sharing some ideas for best practice, that's what we've continued to emphasize is you're going to have to do what works best for your school and what provides the best assessment validity for your students now that we've lost the control of that classroom environment to control assessment validity. You know, online digital type testing through a variety of resources like Google Classroom or Abeka's Link It. There's a number of resources. And schools have all figured that out along the way, and everybody's done it a little differently. And I think perhaps it's been encouraging that there's not one right answer. There's lots of ideas, and you can choose what serves your clients the best along the way. But as far as what PCA is experiencing, it's very similar to everyone else. They're not going back into the physical classroom environment this year. They're wrapping everything up remotely, finishing things up, and already planning for next year because we know students are going to come in August at really a different point than they would have normally come in with since they've been out of the formal classroom environment since March.
Thank you. And something Micah Conlon, a previous panelist with Amy, said, you know, if you're still in the midst of making these decisions, don't only, if you're an administrator, take advantage of talking to your teachers, getting their feedback, but include the parents.
Yes.
And you might find that if you decide to go ahead with finals, or if you're thinking of maybe even canceling finals, get the parents' feedback. And I think you'll feel more confident that what you have decided will be the best for your school and for your family.
We were saying the other day, Cindy, that even though this is nothing normal at all, and even though we feel like the playing field has become unlevel, it's consistently unlevel. We were talking about our own children. Some of them have benefited from at home because I think parents are making them watch the videos over and over and over again.
So they learn it.
Some of them have struggled at home because maybe they didn't have the bandwidth or multiple devices or mom and dad's work schedule. Others have been able to stay pretty steady, but quite honestly, all of our playing fields were shifted. So it's still level in the sense that it's level with everybody else. Students learn differently in the classroom. They're going to learn differently from each other at home. But we're all operating by the same rules. So
it's kind of neat. We're all in this together, right? No matter where you're at. I think PCA, did they cancel the final tests?
They did decide to not give the final exam.
Final.
All the quizzes and everything up to that, but they chose not to do the final exam. Still averaging grades and all of that, just without that final test of the year.
I think I like that call. I thought that was appropriate. So I'm not trying to promote. I'm not trying to whatever, but I'm just saying I think
he just wanted off the hook.
We fully approve that. I've been scanning in these these quizzes and tests every morning and emailing them to the teacher. And we're all going through that. I do want to think, I know we have questions to get through, and one of them is about summer seminar, and it kind of segues with this because I'm real excited about summer seminar. We are planning at this point to still have it. We are going to trust the Lord, and we are going to, with all optimism, believe that things are going to be in a condition where by the end of July, we'll be able to invite all of you. And I want to do a special invite. This is going to be a very special summer seminar. We're going to talk about some of these subjects live. And, you know, in the past where we had very scripted tracks for summer seminar, we don't want to lose some of what summer seminar involves, right? But we understand we need to be sensitive to what's going on. What a great time if you have the ability to come join us for the summer seminar to really discuss some of these topics, because kids are going to come back into school at different levels. There are different things to consider. There's contingency things you have to think. There's all kinds of stuff. So
we've still got plan A, B, C, D.
Yeah, the whole thing, right? All through the alphabet and then the Greek alphabet. So I do want to invite people to consider coming for this summer seminar. I'm so convicted that these topics need to be discussed. We'll have an online alternative in plans if perchance we can't make it happen, but we really hope we can open up the campus, invite you all in, have you come in, and then these would be some of the topics we'd love to discuss.
Thank you. I'm excited about that too, to hear some of these continue going forward. Now, I know we've received a lot of questions even before this webinar, during this webinar about ProTeach.
Okay.
Many are so thankful for what we've been able to provide, but they're just wondering, as they plan for the future, will ProTeach videos still be available during the summer for students to watch or maybe catch up or to be able to practice more with new concepts? At what point will the videos no longer be accessible for the schools that used it because of COVID-19?
We've tried to be extremely lenient because every school is finishing different. So at this point, we're targeting a June 30 date. And at that time, the ProTeach will not be available to reserve, and then the hours will also on the accounts go back to zero, so to speak. However, we understand that we introduced a lot of schools to this ability to help either parents during the summer or to have it as a contingency plan. I hope they found it to be a partnership solution, that as they're doing things that this would come along. So, and again, it wasn't really designed for what we used it for, which is exciting, right? We now have these schools that have innovated and used it. We're so happy. So be looking for some more information to come out about how that's going to work for summer options, fall options. I'm real excited to be able to come alongside and be able to, again, think through how that might work, what the pricing might be. You know, we just have to think through that differently, right? Because rather than frustrate you by buying a bunch of 100-hour blocks, maybe it's more convenient to, you know, to think, what does this school need in total? And does that work off a subscription basis? Or we're just going through a lot of different things. But I think within the next 30 days or so, maybe a little bit sooner, we hope to have some decisions made and messaging out. But we'll have something available that is very doable for the Christian schools.
Okay, so June 30th, essentially things will continue like they have been until June 30th. And then after June 30th, because I know some of these are also asking about in the fall, what if COVID closes schools again? Or what if there's families with students who aren't willing to come to school yet? So that will also be part of just some of the...
That's right.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Randy. I know we have, going back to a little bit of with digital books, and maybe this you will have already answered earlier, but are digital books for elementary available? A number of our books are available in high school digitally for students who maybe want to be able to use them on a type of reader. Do we anticipate putting any elementary books on digital
Up to
format?
this point, it's been our high school non-work texts.
That's
so
right.
that the books that you don't write in are the ones that have been digitized. And that was based on the demand from the Christian schools. They wanted to give high schoolers the opportunity to use digital textbooks, digital resources.
That's right.
That weren't as enthusiastic about putting those devices into the hands of elementary students. So that's something that, you know, we know a lot has kind of shifted with COVID.
That's
and
right.
Not all of it's going to shift back. So if we have shifted into an environment where you anticipate more elementary students using their textbooks on a digital device, then we're going to need to start gathering that feedback from you so that, again, we can prioritize projects like that. Number of factors to consider, but up to this point, there hadn't been demand for putting digital devices into students' hands for the purpose of the textbook.
And if you don't mind, I'll just tag this question from another educator on kind of similar, but she's an elementary teacher. She was more talking, not so much the student textbooks, but things like the lesson plans. Would lesson plans?
You know, that is something that we had spent quite a bit of time exploring in the last 12 months, is how to provide those in an electronic format. So we'll continue down that road and see what we can do. I know one teacher referenced, she felt like Ms. Howe perhaps had her lesson plans on the iPad in the Pro Teach lessons. That is nothing special that was provided to PCA. That might have just been her own personal notes of what she was going to cover in the lesson, in addition to the PowerPoints that she personally created to supplement her lessons. But they have not been digitized yet, but that one is on our list. So again, you can influence where that sits on the list with your feedback. But do look toward those types of digitized resources in the future. We also know customers are interested in customizing their curriculum. So that's part of what we've been exploring, is how can we provide the curriculum digitally, and I'm talking about the lesson plan specifically, and then be editable or customizable as well, because we want curriculum to be flexible. It needs to meet your students' needs as well as the students of everyone else watching. And so we're going to explore those options as well.
I think one thing that talks about, right, is there's a runway and there's all these products and services that's on there. And I invite you as well to let us know the priority order, because we do listen to our customers, right, intimately. And many of the things that we've done are directly related to how do we provide convenience for them and partner with them. So some of these things, decisions are made in direct ratio to the feedback that we're getting. So it is important that we hear back from you on all these things. We understand, to your point, the classroom's changing. There's a digital environment. At PCA, we've constructed what we call the School of Tomorrow project, where we go into classrooms, we digitize it. We're trying to understand better interactive technology, how that might work. We understand that that's where things are going, and we're trying to get ahead of that to prepare for that, and hopefully get products and services lined up to meet that. But if you'll let us know some of the things that would help you be more successful. Another point, I know we got more questions, but I love the point of flexibility. And we get that. Somehow there's a culture of rigidity that's grown around Abeka that we believe that, an instructor-led classroom still has some flexibility, right? A teacher understands what's happening. And so you need the ability to take our tools and not to change it all around, because we believe in our curriculum and how it was put together. But we also believe that part of that success is the teacher, right? Certainly the parent, we get all that, but that teacher needs to be able to use that material and be effective.
And it goes back to that goal that we've talked about for years, of you teach to the average of your classroom, and average varies. If you teach more than one section of a class, average can vary from first period to second period. And that's why the curriculum is a framework to expand off of, to hit the average learners, and then challenge the above average and give assistance to those needing assistance.
And I know in my years teaching in the classroom, I taught from a few different curriculums, and some of it was Abeka, and I loved the fact of having the lesson plans there, but I was able to adapt them. With other curriculums, I did have to take the time to put the lessons there. So Abeka was a huge time saver, but still I was in control of the classroom. And that is something Abeka wants to emphasize, that we're putting these products to save you time, but you're the teacher in the classroom. And for any who don't know, I think all three of us keep using the term PCA because we're familiar with it. PCA just stands for Pensacola Christian Academy. It's just the school that your kids are going to, and certainly the school that has partnered with Abeka for many decades now. So this is some great conversation about curriculum, about the ProStream hours. Now, I do have a number of questions about ordering. So here's the school, and Randy, this may be questions more for you, but Amy, feel free to hop in anytime. This school says, since we don't know for certain about school restart dates, will you be able to extend the 10% discount past June 15th? They typically always order before then, but this is a little bit new.
So here's some things that we're doing, and we just launched a promotion I think you'll be excited about. So in the past, we have for years had a 10% off if you order sometime by the middle of June and your first payment due in October. We decided this year that we were going to have an either or promotion where you get 10% off, or you would make, or you could choose 4 payments, right? We've never had school payments before. It's the first time we've done something like that. Very excited to be able to offer that to the schools. And that all launched April 1st. So what we did though was, the first thing we did is we extended that offer to July 10th. So instead of June 19th, which I think was the original cutoff date for that offer, we've extended that through July 19th. So if you want 10% off, or if you want payments, you now have through July 10th. But then what we did was we just launched this yesterday. We combined the offers. So for a limited time, to help people, to help the Christian schools, you get both the 10% off and the ability to make that in 4 payments. And that one goes through the original promotion date, which was June 19th. So if you are a school that is wondering, what to do in the fall, I really encourage you to start to put together your thought process, talk to the field rep that can help walk you through that. But I'm excited to be able to offer both. So you'll get the 10% off. You'll get to be able to make the 4 payments starting in October, which hopefully helps with your cash flow, different concerns why we did the payments. And that goes through June 19th. And then at that point, we still have either or promotion running through July 19th. I hope that helps schools in their decision making.
So June 19th, you can take up through June 19th, you can take advantage of both. And then after June 19th through July 10th, you will be able to take advantage of both. So we
You
have
just said it
tried
better
to-
than I did in 20 seconds. Well done. That's great.
To push it ahead. And so that answers another question here, where a
That's
school
fantastic.
in Belize was saying, because their country runs so much on tourism,
Sure.
families may be paying a little bit later. So yes, there is a delayed payment plan that you said this is the first time for schools. They'll be able to pay it in 4
payments.
4 payments. So look into that. That may be a help for you. Along those lines, this is another school. It's a growing academy. I know one of the ways we're helping schools is we're schools that may be new to Abeka, or they may be new to using a certain subject. When they switch over, they may get some free teacher kits. This school has been using Abeka, so they're wondering what are some ways that we can help schools that are currently using Abeka. Certainly this July 10th and the June 19th cutoff apply, but what are other discounts that would be available for a school?
So I will say those particular discounts of the 10% off and the payments are the largest to take advantage of, right? And we do run promotions and just different things that we do to help schools out, teachers' kits and things like that. So I would encourage that particular school, depending on their buying, if they're able to buy within this particular selling season, certainly before the due date or the end date, I should say, of June 19, that's where the biggest savings is going to be. But other promotions we message on a regular basis, the field rep can give them information on different things that we do to help out. Another thing that we do, which is free, is what you do, Cindy. And there are, by the way, there are great publishers out there, and we tell the field reps there may be other solutions that are better than Abeka. We're not the only people there. I like the fact that we didn't start as a publishing company. But the heart of Abeka started with a Christian school, right? I mean, it was the Hortons answering a call to Pensacola to start a Christian school. So our passion revolves around Christian education, Christian school, obviously in the home as well. But we realize there's services that people need. So I would hope that the value we provide clearly becomes a differentiator in the marketplace. We have people like educational consultants that not just do inline training, but you have the ability to go to a school, to observe classrooms, to then coach those teachers. And there may be other publishers that do that, but we do that. We do that very well. So you could literally have Cindy in your school helping. That's free. We don't charge for that.
She's chomping at the
She's probably, because she's been traveling all over.
Into the classroom.
So we want to do both ends of the spectrum. I mean, I understand that we take a little bit hit off of 10% off, well worth it. We got to help schools out, the payments, but it's about value. So we're also looking for ways to how do we provide value. And so I would also encourage schools to look into things like that, where we can come alongside and help schools with a value proposition. And hopefully we have the solution for them. And again, I know we're not for everybody, but I believe in what we're doing. And I believe that we have a solution for most Christian schools. So that would be one way I would answer that as well. Field rep will probably have more information as we go along with other promotions. And there are some things we're looking at to do throughout the year. Some of that's going to be reaction to the marketplace, and we get all that. But please look at the other value adds that we provide and take advantage of those.
This whole front office has been a
Oh my goodness. How can I not even mention the back of front office? That's this whole thing. Yeah.
Online learning,
Yes.
our professional development.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many opportunities.
Those digital downloads are still available. This whole marketing, what was the marketing? 30,000 or 40,000? I forget the dollar amount that we spent to put all of that together to give the Christian schools what basically is a free marketing. And then we're going to continue. We got more marketing coming up. So not only do you get these free downloads that you can change the messaging and all that, we made it to where it's completely interchangeable for what the need is for you, but we've got some more marketing pieces coming. So if you just take those webinars that's coming together along with the downloads, you're going to have a complete social media marketing approach to your Christian school. So hopefully the value adds, front office, educational consultants, on and on we go, help come into the complete decision to partner with Abeka.
And even just recently, our marketing team, our e-commerce team, they put together a page on abeka.com that you can find just by Googling discounts. And what that has is it's put in one location all the discounts that are available to you. And so that's also an answer to even, I had another question from Sylvia. As a startup Christian school, what can we do to help you? So look at that discounts page. And then also, we've mentioned a number of times our Abeka field reps, and they work one-on-one with schools. And they're able, a lot of them have an educator's background. A lot of them, even just their different backgrounds, are able to come and not just tell you more about the Abeka curriculum, but honestly be a help with the different challenges that schools face. So take advantage of them. They're there, and I know they've already contacted a lot of you, but you can also find out who might be your rep by going to our page and putting in your area code. Now, a little bit of questions then about product. Here's a teacher who's moving from first grade to third grade, and she will be switching the 3rd to 5th grade history curriculum over to Abeka, as well as her 3rd grade reading and creative writing. She's anxious to get started lesson planning. When will the teacher materials be available?
That's a great question, and how exciting it's been, Randy, to not have to close down our distribution center during this time. Again, we got strategic everywhere as we social distanced and changed up our shifts and again, just got really creative. And so product has been shipping out all throughout COVID-19. New products have come available even in the last several weeks. Several of our new products for 2020, another batch of them has been released for shipment from our distribution center. And so if you are to place an order today, it'll only be a matter of days before that order will begin packing and shipping to you. The only exception to that would be anything that we are finishing sending to press for those brand new 2020 products. And so anything from, I think, about 11th grade history as we finish that one up, and a few more products for 4th grade reading. There's a couple of the readers that they use in the spring semester that as we shifted our resources to deal with COVID-19, we bumped them down a little bit on the list since they wouldn't be needed until later. They will be available in time for school to start perhaps. But maybe not in the initial shipment if you were to place an order today. But the majority of what you would need for 3rd through 5th grade would ship out very quickly if you were to place an order and take advantage of those promotions today.
So maybe even by the end of May or certainly the beginning of June, if your
Sure.
school was able to place that order and you'd be able to start that planning.
Can I show them a little
Please.
bit beyond 2020? So as we've continued to wrap up the brand new products for 2020, we've already gone well into the new products that will be launched for the fall of 2021. Those will start becoming available in September of 2020 and be released gradually throughout the year. Again, for preview orders, we know that getting your hands on these new resources early helps you to acclimate as a school, as a teacher, and then only benefits your student when they start that new school year in fall of 21. So since we're talking about 4th grade, this year we released for 2020, Language Arts 4 has been completely revised, some really exciting writing opportunities, literary opportunities built into the brand new Language Arts 4. Another new product, I wish I'd thought to bring it with me, is our Bible 4 journal. Cindy, you know how excited, right? Everybody knows how excited I am about this product because it's one that our customers have asked for. They said, give us a student product for Bible. And if I'm giving you complete behind the scenes knowledge, our hesitation on that for a number of years was that we didn't want Bible to become academic. So we didn't want it to be worksheet driven or worksheet supported, even like an arithmetic class or a language class might be. But the Lord gave us an opportunity in the past year to use one of our master teachers to come in alongside us and develop what's called the Bible 4 journal. So as the students learn from the Genesis series, the Life of Christ series, the Paul series, through the Abeka flashcards, they have their own journal full of thought-provoking, really spirit-provoking questions to help them apply the lessons that they're learning to their lives personally. So it really is going to be a great tool for solidifying that development of a biblical worldview and just getting students to think. We had the chance to partner with not only Pensacola Christian Academy, but 2 other Christian schools who piloted a portion of the Bible journal for us. And then we were able to get those teachers' feedback from those students of how they implemented it into their classroom. It's something that's used once or sometimes twice a week in Bible class, doesn't replace the teacher, doesn't replace the comprehensive Bible knowledge that the students gain from those flashcard based lessons, but it's going to be a wonderful supplement. So a little bit of a commercial there, but only because it's something that you've asked for and that we're excited to get into your hands. And if for any reason you decide to not take advantage of the brand new Bible 4 complete curriculum this year, you can use that Bible 4 journal with the previous edition of those flashcards and the previous curriculum as well. So just reach out to us if you're looking for a little bit of guidance of how to implement that into the current curriculum. Obviously, we hope you'll take advantage of the whole brand new product line because of the biblical worldview that has just only been strengthened as far as teacher helps are concerned. But okay, I said I was going to go past 2020. So for 4th grade, I wanted to show you, and these are pre-pressed copies, but this is a copy of the brand new 4th grade science textbook for understanding God's world. Probably my favorite thing about this brand new textbook is with our research and development, we saw the need to develop a more robust STEM activities workbook. So you're familiar already with the 4th grade science workbook and the black and white worksheets that it had in it. This one is a full color STEM activity workbook that goes along with the content that they're learning in the student book, but helps them to expand their usage of the scientific method with data recording, analyzing data, problem solution thinking, all those great critical thinking opportunities. They will thoroughly enjoy that. And then 4th grade teachers are familiar with, in 4th grade, we have a bird set of flashcards. In 4th through 6th grade, we also have the flowers flashcards, the insect flashcards. 4th grade's going to get its own set of 4th grade flashcards. So it'll incorporate the birds that they need to know, again, in full color, and they'll be in full color on the activity sheets, the quizzes, the tests, but a number of other teaching resources. I could flip through them just so you can see a huge variety. And again, these are pre-pressed copies, so you may see some pre-production notes on them, but just some beautiful photos, illustrations, and other teaching resources for the 4th grade science teachers to benefit from. They'll be able to start seeing those products come out next fall. And then if I transition to secondary for just a second, this is another product line that we've been working on for quite some time, and that's our brand new Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 product lines. These have actually been piloted over the course of about the last 3 years, and so we've gotten great feedback. You might have heard about it before because last summer we sent out an email to our Christian schools and said, let your Spanish teacher help us evaluate our new product line. And we partnered with Spanish teachers all over the country, and they spent their summer off helping us. They went through the student text, they went through the brand new teachers editions, they went through the assessments, they went through a brand new oral exercises product that we have. And this year again, Pensacola Christian Academy and another school piloted right in the classroom, used the digital teaching aids that are being developed. I get excited when I talk about brand new products, but this brand new Spanish product is going to do a wonderful job meeting all of the objectives that are the reasons why you partner with Abeka. They're excellent for evangelization. We want students to learn a foreign language so they can communicate the gospel in that language. We want them to do well in high school Spanish because we know many of them will continue into college Spanish. So this has been developed with that college Spanish class in mind. So excited to give you the opportunity to see those again starting this fall. And then we had a unique opportunity, and this past school year at PCA, we decided to go ahead and consider updating our speech videos. And when we started looking at getting Miss Autry again to come back and help us re-video speech, we thought, why re-video it with the current book when we could probably pull a team together and develop a brand new speech book? And so we have done that as well. It was piloted this past semester, this past spring, and then we will be refining it over the summer, releasing it again probably in the fall, recording some new ProTeach videos to go along with that, and really excited about that brand new speech product that's really going to help students with everyday communication. And because we never stop pushing forward, our speech team has plans for 2 more single semester speech courses. So if you would be interested beyond this everyday speech course, if you'd be interested in a speech course that's more aligned toward business speech or more aligned with dramatic speech, we have ideas for 2 more single semester courses there. So if you have a preference between those 2, even give us that feedback because it'll help us prioritize which one of those we tackle first. So thank you for letting me give you a sneak peek at 2021. It'll be here before we know it, right?
Yeah, oh my goodness.
And Randy, I know there'll be a lot of questions that you'll be able to answer. We have one that just falls in line with what Amy was just talking about, new product. Do you mind if we take just another minute to talk about new curriculum?
Sure.
We've got some good feedback from this administrator who talked to his high school math teacher just about some things that he sees in geometry and pre-calculus. Overall, he's asking, what is the vision for geometry and pre-calculus, and having them updated and having them revised?
We have actually been working on the revision for geometry for quite some time. We knew it was going to take some time to run it through our robust research and development process. So though we have not slated a date for release for that one yet, know that it is in the queue and actively being worked on. If I can give you another little sneak peek a little bit farther down the road, the next math course that we are working on past the 7th grade, the new intermediate math that was used by Christian schools this year, and then the new pre-algebra that follows that, we have decided to go ahead and move right into the progression of the 9th grade Algebra 1 next. And that may surprise you. It kind of did me when we first started talking about it because it is one of our newer math courses. But as we looked at everything that we built into the 7th grade course and the 8th grade course, we thought we've got to take a chance to do I say quick, but I don't mean haphazard, a quick brush through that course to make sure we've built everything into it to help it dovetail nicely. We know all students have to take Algebra 1 by most state standards, where geometry, pre-calculus, there's some variance on those. But we're going to go ahead and tackle it in that grade progression order to make sure that those students who've had the new 7th and 8th grade math courses will benefit from seeing those same principles built into the algebra course in 9th grade. So we're excited about that as well.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I think a lot of that answers this other question from Sam too, talking about Spanish vocab. You talked about the Spanish one that is coming out, and then consumer math too will also be down the road of those. So do anticipate those coming up. And he did want to share with you.
Acknowledging that consumer math and business math need updated.
Yes.
We know that. Again, we're trying to tackle these in the order that bring the most value to your schools. And Cindy, can I mention one more thing I thought of about intermediate math and pre-algebra? Because it's a question that we get often as to if we're going to give our 8th graders the chance to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade instead of waiting until 9th grade, what should their 7th grade course be? Should it be the pre-algebra? And we want to tell you that when we developed the 7th grade intermediate mathematics book, we developed it with the 8th graders taking Algebra 1 in mind. So we would recommend, if you want to give 8th graders the chance to take Algebra 1, still keep them in the intermediate math for 7th grade. That's really the reason that that course name changed from basic mathematics to intermediate mathematics, is because we built some more rigor into it to prepare those advanced students to go past pre-algebra straight into Algebra 1. The pre-algebra is going to serve 8th graders well to solidify the objectives, the content learned in 7th grade, to give them a little bit deeper dive into Algebra 1. So if math is not their proficiency, they'll be even more prepared for Algebra 1 in 9th grade. But I think because we hear that question so frequently, it's a good opportunity to mention that going from the 7th grade intermediate math to Algebra 1 in 8th grade should provide a very good experience for your proficient math students.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something even in the last couple of years we hear. So 7th grade, if you're gonna skip one, skip the 8th grade. The 7th grade was designed for the students to go straight from that into Algebra 1. I know some of you, we were talking about the Pro Teach hours, how long would they be available? We said we're kind of looking at June 30th, but that doesn't mean every single Pro Teach hour that your school has on account will disappear. A number of you have already been purchasing Pro Teach hours, have used them even before the COVID pandemic. So certainly anything that you purchased before that would still be available to you. So don't think that you'll lose all of that. Many of you paid for that, invested in it, and that will still be available to you. Just going along, and maybe this references, this is a teacher. She teaches K-5 in 1st grade. She uses the paper book. So we've been talking a lot about the digital component, and she does acknowledge that it is part of their outside world, but she says they do need pencil and paper experience for fine motor development. And I think just because we may look at digitizing more of our product doesn't mean we're going to step away from the physical, correct?
I completely agree. I think it's going to be a combination. We're never going to get away from pen and paper.
Nor should we.
Nor should we.
Nor should we.
Still need
That's
that
right.
experience. So it'll be a nice dovetail of what's always worked and then what our technology and our culture bring to us today.
I think part of that, right? We flesh out during the R&D. These R&Ds that we do, that second part of that facet we talk about is so in depth. But we're looking at things like digital and in a hybrid aids that would come along to help. But motor skills, manuscript, all these different things that we look at, cursive, all these developmental pieces. I think there's an appreciation of your product managers of how to bring all that together to create a successful, really a solution, right? So some of it may have some digital components,
Sure.
but you'll always have, we don't think the
Correct.
book's going to necessarily go completely out, right?
Right.
So,
And as someone who prefers a physical book,
Yeah.
like many of you watching, there will always be value to the physical book. This was a question directly to you, Randy, from Doug. He says, Abeka has been shipping curriculum for us to Asia, to Africa. Because of the weight limitations, they need a tool to predetermine the weight of the order. They've been unsuccessful in being able to determine what is the weight of the books that they're ordering. So they say, is there a way? Because for them to be able to know the weight means how quickly they can get the books.
yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. So if you've got Doug's email address, but if he would just probably flip that into your schools at Abeka, and then you can forward it to me, but we can calculate the weight on that. I don't see that as an issue.
You just would have to know the volume, right?
Yeah, we'd have to know the order.
So we'll get back to you, Doug, a little more one-on-one. We've got your email address, but just in case, email us at schools@abeka.com and say, hey, this is Doug with the weight question, and we'll be able to work more with your the book weight.
Not a weight question. I probably can't. I wouldn't be the one asking.
I've heard a new statement.
COVID-19.
Instead of freshman 15, I keep hearing people talk about the quarantine 15.
I will say that as we build our new e-com platform, we talked about the infrastructure things that we're doing, things like that where you need to know the weight, you need to understand, we have to do the same thing, right? So we've got this amazing opportunity in Brazil with Christian schools and importing in there, and all over the world, God's just opening up. There's something happening. There's some kind of a door opening up, not just domestically, but even around the world that we're just excited about. And I don't know the whole ramification of that, but we're stepping through every door that opens. But back to the shipping issue, we get it totally. And so we're looking to make upgrades in the future where you can very easily be able to access that information. But in the meantime, we'll get you information that he needs.
We'll try to help you there. So we've got just about 10 minutes. So we'll kind of see how many we can answer in those 10 minutes. Some of these may be a little bit faster for you to answer. From Catherine, if we start ordering books this June, when can you deliver?
So we've always had a first in, first out, right? But I'm telling you, people are going to order late. So order early. I can't emphasize that enough. The earlier you order, and maybe you have to do it conservatively, and I understand all of that, but please make sure that you know the later that you order, things always stack up, right? And I know you want to get your books on time. June is an okay fill date. I mean, I'm okay telling you in June, but I know that there, as we look at what's come in so far, we understand that for a Christian school, you're having to put all this stuff together and understand, and maybe we don't understand what's going to happen totally in the fall. But I would just encourage you, the earlier you can get it in, even if it's a conservative order, our field reps are amazing. They'll help you work through some of that to get the order out in time for your school.
And Epifania, I trust that answers your question too about how we're handling book ordering. Same as we have done. We've got some of the promotions that we've extended, but the whole process as a whole is the same as it has been. Are the discounts and the 4 payments available to schools outside the U.S.?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, it's international. We have some phenomenal schools around the world. You know what's great about this job, and I wish all the Christian schools could see each other. Like we see the videos, we see the pictures. We have a channel totally dedicated to just what's happening out in the Christian school world. It is amazing what God is doing, and I wish all of you could see what God is doing around the world. And but certainly all these things that we do. We put with an international thought process, including the free streaming. Free streaming was available to all the Christian schools around the world as well.
I think put Felipe on notice that we all want to come to Brazil.
Yeah, yes.
He's our Abeka rep in Brazil. And to clarify, so the delay payment, that the discount is available at international schools. If you're thinking about the switch to equip discount, that would only be available perhaps to some of the U.S. schools. Are the revised DVDs already available? So what we were getting ready for this from this past year.
This past school year, we're finishing some things up. Obviously, COVID-19 interrupted the school year at Pensacola Christian Academy, and so we've had to overcome some challenges with that. But we had already recorded the brand new American Government video course. That's not an update to textbooks, but to the video. So those Pro-Teach videos will be available to Christian schools. We finished videoing intermediate math for 7th grade. And Christian schools who've been using Pro-Teach know that we had recorded those last 35, 40, 45 lessons in the classroom with just the teacher and no students. Empty classroom. And even though that's not our preferred style, because we love the interaction and the pacing that goes with the students, Esther has done a phenomenal job continuing to instruct in an empty classroom and just teaching directly to the students watching. So for those of you using the new intermediate math products for 7th grade, those will be available for Pro-Teach in the coming school year as well. A few others we had started, but we've had to postpone those. I'm thinking of a couple of high school courses that we were recording only for 2nd semester. I mentioned the speech to you earlier. That was one that we did record the pilot use of that book, but we had to stop halfway through that single semester course. So there's not enough content there to release that one. We'll reschedule that one. But we will have those becoming available throughout the summer. We have to send the lessons off to be DVD mastered and replicated and packaged and all of that, but those will be available according to the normal timeline. Okay.
One technology segue, we're looking at converting DVDs to USB technology, so be looking for some feedback on adoption and is how that might work and play with your school of those that use DVDs. To be able to use the USB. I think streaming is always going to be our favorite delivery. And with 5G and different technologies coming online, we'll be able to do more, in fact, with that. But we are looking at, DVDs are fast becoming the VHS tapes, right? So just know that we're moving forward in a lot of technology areas, including the DVD to USB conversion.
Well, with about 3 more minutes left, we're going to see if we can answer about 3 more questions. How do I get the marketing info? Last week's webinar was recorded and placed online at abeka.com/front office. You'll also find that free marketing toolkit available there. Are you all, Randy, Amy, going to do any kind of free assessment tools? How can teachers ensure they get children in the right spot this fall based on the Abeka curriculum?
That's really not any different after COVID-19 than it is any other particular year. That is really up to your school and the clients that you're serving and what assessment tool you want to use to be sure that students are prepared. I think you're going to want to, just as every other year, do a promotion, use a promotion tool across the board to promote your students to the next grade, however you decide to do that, whether you're basing that on their proficiency by the end of third quarter when you were in the classroom, or whether you want to continue using the fourth quarter to evaluate that. You're going to have to decide what works best for your school. I think we all agree that there's going to be, everybody's going to have a different level of remediation coming back into the classroom. Lord willing, we're able to do that in July and August. And I've heard different schools do different things. In one of our previous webinars, we talked about some schools are talking about starting 5 to 10 days early. And not necessarily, I think some of them will do something remedial for 5 to 10 days. I feel like most of them will just go ahead and start the next grade level, but be able to take those first few weeks a little bit more slowly. So as they identify gaps, they can stop, camp out on that concept, fill in that gap that the students might have just from that extended time out of the formal classroom. It's going to vary greatly. I don't know that parents are going to be upset at school starting early because kids have been at home since March. But again, that's going to, you can take mine anytime you'd like. I'm just kidding. That's going to be some variety there, but you can be creative again. And as you mentioned earlier, Cindy, about not only talking to teachers, but put together a committee of administration, teachers, parents, and work together, get a roundtable conversation, hear everybody's concerns, everybody's suggestions. The best ideas come out of that type of team collaboration.
And I noticed we've got a lot of questions from Catherine and others who we may not be able to get to. And we're still going to be able, even after we end this webinar, we're still going to be reaching out to you. And some of you, if you have enough questions, it maybe we'll be able to reach out to you via phone call if you would like, and just go through those questions and answer them for you. And I think you already answered Doug's question about consumer math revision. I do want to say a lot of these questions about how do we help students who are struggling with staying on target, with being motivated. We did discuss those a good amount in some of the previous webinars. So use those resources. You might find some good ideas and some good thinking strategies to use for your students. But I want to thank Randy. I want to thank Amy. I know as soon as we end this webinar, they're going to go off to their other responsibilities. So thank you for taking the time to just answer the questions. Thank you all for putting those questions in. Again, as Amy has emphasized, we adapt based on your feedback. So keep those coming. So we trust that we'll see a number of you in the webinars that are coming up, some marketing webinars, some other things talking about education as well. Thank you for coming.